Welcome back to another Train Tuesday. I'm your host, Jim Wiggin, and man, do I have a packed show for you guys. So go ahead, find a comfy spot, whether you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook Live. Put that easy boy in the reclining position and sit back. We got some great stuff for you today. Before we get started, like I always do, I want to see who's out there. So let's take a look who we've got. We've got Chris. Sean says, good afternoon, Jim. We've got Anthony, Joseph, Dave, BNSF scale, N scale, I should say. We got Kyle and Gary and Henry. We got folks coming in from Minnesota. We've got, let's see, Mark. And Mark is all set. He's got cold beer and tacos. So it sounds like a great Tuesday right there. We got Mr. Derek Glass, DG Model Works himself, in the house. We got Jason. We got Ian. We got Matt. We've got a pretty full house here. We've got Jason's coming in all the way from Queensland. So we got folks from all over the place. We've got folks coming in from Shelby, North Carolina, like Christopher. And we've got some folks here from Illinois, or if you're from my neck of the woods, we call it Illinois. But since I'm in Illinois, I'll call it Illinois. We've got, who else? Dustin, Rick, James, George. Man, we've got a full house today, and that's great. Glad to see that we've got a lot of guys here because we're going to talk about some ready-to-run stuff and going to give you some historic perspective on this stuff. And then we've got some other treats for you. I think you're going to like this. So here we go. So we're starting today with the Ready to Roll series. We've talked about the Genesis series the previous weeks. So now it's time to talk about the Ready to Roll. So let's go ahead and let's start with the covered hoppers. Now we're not just do any covered hoppers. These are the American Car and Foundry covered hoppers. So there we go. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to blow this up, and let's hope I don't lose my sound. Remember, sometimes it doesn't like to do that, but let's see what happens. All right. Everybody hear me okay? All right. So these are really interesting cars, and I'm glad that we're doing these again. But we're doing them in slightly different roads. So a little bit of background on these. These are the American Car and Foundry 2970 covered hoppers. These were originally designed in 1962, but they were introduced to the railroads in 1965. And you can see up there in the upper right-hand corner, we've got some of the demo cars that they did back in the 60s. Because this was relatively new technology. Don't forget, wasn't much more than 10 years prior, they were still using 40-foot boxcars for grain and things of that nature. Now, typically, these were designed to carry large quantities of lightweight, high-bulk materials such as plastic pellets. CB&Q carried a lot of sand in theirs. These were great for industries that had any type of blow-molded plastic or plastic molding processes, anything like that. So if you've got an industry on your railroad layout, your module, and you need some type of commodity like that, these are perfect. And we'll talk about these a little bit more in detail because there's different eras that we're showing here. Predominantly, we're going to be talking 60s, 70s, and early 80s. Now, the interesting thing about these too is these center flow cars, they were produced in Huntington, West Virginia. That's where their main plant was. That's where they were designed. That's where they were built. And when they were the peak of production, they were building 28 a day. That's 28 of these freight cars a day. So if you go rail fanning and you remember seeing these, or you've seen them and you wonder, man, there's a lot of them. Well, that's why, because again, at their peak, they were doing 28 cars a day. So by 1992, over 100,000 of these cars had been produced. That's pretty intense when you think about it. That's a lot of freight cars. So that gives us the ability to do a lot of different eras, different paint schemes, and things of that nature. Now, one of the things that I want to do for you guys is I know in the past, sometimes it's hard, if you're watching this on a smartphone or a tablet, it's kind of hard to see these little pictures. Now, yes, we do have them on our website. You go to athearn.com and look at the new releases. But I thought I'd take some of the key freight cars in this run and let you see them a little bit more in detail. So I'm going to go ahead and remove him. And like I said, we've got some close-ups now. I had some folks asking, hey, are you going to show more of the demonstrator cars? And absolutely. In fact, let me bring those up now. All right, so there's our first demonstrator. So again, these are from 65 onward. Now, most of these that we're showing, this demonstrator is build date is 1968. So obviously you can use this on any railroad. They did a series of them. And what we've done is we've actually got a pack of these, and each one of the demonstrator ones is different. They have a different slogan. So I'll go ahead and go through these for you guys. We've got this one here with the ACF logo, demonstrator car. And again, 1968 is the build date on these. Here's the second one in the series, slightly different. Same thing. We're looking at a build date of about 1968 on these. Now, these were made by American Car and Foundry. And these are their demonstrators because this was new. These were brand new in the 60s. Now, here's a cool one for your railway. This one has a different slogan. It says, help railroads bring better living to you, support railway legislation. That was a big deal back then because remember the interstate commerce had brought about the highways, and trucking was really starting to make some inroads in freight. So the railroads hadn't quite evolved like they are right now. So they were definitely wanting a little bit of help there. So this is all brand new for the 1960s. Now, another one I wanted to show too is the CB&Q. As you probably well know, CB&Q has a soft spot in my heart. It's one of my favorite railroads. But there's an interesting thing about these particular cars. If you look carefully, you'll see the build date is July 1968. So these are the last covered hoppers that the CB&Q would order. This is it. Now, the interesting thing is they had ordered center flows before, but they were in a different numbering system. Interesting thing about these is they use a slightly lighter gray than they had used previously. Now, if you're wondering, well, why was this the last order of covered hoppers by the railroad? Well, in another 2 years, they would no longer exist. They would become the Burlington Northern after the merger. So this is it. We went ahead and did these as well because these are right in the middle of where they need to be as far as the timeline that we're doing. So we've got a lot of 1960s in this run. Now, if you read the description for today's show, we're going to talk about everything. We're going to talk from 1947 all the way to modern era. So if we're not hitting your era yet, just wait a minute. We got something for you. So those, like I said, came out in the mid-60s, took the world by storm as far as North American railway practices, and were just used by all kinds of different roads. So if you've got a railroad set in the 60s to the 70s, and it could be anything, go ahead and pick up the demonstrator packs. Now, a lot of these too we're offering as 3-packs. And one of the more interesting 3-packs that we're offering is the Grand Trunk. And I've got a picture of that too. It's a 3-pack. So you've got your standard, your 2 gray minimal markings. And then you've got your big font GT in the blue. And these are perfect for you guys in the 1970s. So you'll want to go ahead and take a look at these. These covered hoppers, these center flows, the 2970s, they are great for your railroad because if you've got even a small switching layout, they're perfect. And all you really need is a plastics industry, aggregate type of industry, and you're all set. So I'm going to leave those up for a little bit. And see if there's any questions out there for the ready to roll covered hoppers. Now, again, these are extremely popular. They always sell really well. So if any of these have any interest in you, you're going to want to go ahead down to your local hobby shop or order online and, order them through your hobby shop because you have till Friday, April 3rd. All right. So before we go on to the next thing, let's see if anybody has any questions. Chris says he likes that Grand Trunk. Yeah, that is pretty cool. The interesting thing is in the 60s, even into the 70s, they usually had some pretty cool colors or fonts. As they got older, as they went on into the late 70s, into the 80s, they started becoming a little bit more generic, a little bit more gray. So yeah, if you like the 60s and 70s, like a lot of our fans do, you've definitely got some great stuff to check out. So again, we're offering these in single packs, and we're also offering selected cars in 3-packs. So talk to your dealer about these. You can also go to athearn.com, look at the new announcements, and look up the PDFs that we have there. You can see the same PDFs that we use here on the show. You can print them out if you want. Maybe if you really like those demonstrators, cut that one out, put it on the refrigerator, and tell your wife, your partner, whoever, that hey, there's a great birthday, Father's Day, whatever type of gift. Kind of use that subliminal messaging. Now, for you guys that are prototype modelers, most of these cars are taken from actual photographs. The CB&Q is a great example. And of course, again, since I model the CB&Q, one of the tools in my arsenal is one of these books. Now, this book here is by a noted author of the CB&Q, Michael J. Spohr. And this is a freight guide to the CB&Q. These are great if you're doing anything from just even mild weathering to maybe you buy more of the cars that we come out with. You can renumber the decals so that you can have more on your layout. But these are great companions for your modeling. And yes, I know in this day and age we can Google stuff, but some of the older railroads, it's kind of hard to get good quality pictures just online. So if you've got a favorite railroad, I highly suggest 2 things. 1, join the Historical Society of the railroad that you model. And 2, don't be afraid to go to that bookseller that you see at the train shows, because there's a wealth of information between those pages. Okay. Now coming up next, what do I have for you next? Okay, so we talked about the 70s. We talked about the 60s. One of the things that we hear over and over again here at Athearn is, where's the 90s? Where's Conrail? Where's all those interesting roads from the 70s, 80s, and 90s? And we do get a lot of requests for 90s era railroading. And the 90s was an interesting time. It was kind of a time of transition. If you think about it, a lot more freight was slowly going from boxcars and going to intermodal. Intermodal was definitely, it was not in its infancy by any stretch of the imagination, but it was definitely a different time than it is now. And before I go further, Kevin, yes, you are correct. That is a Morning Sun book. Morning Sun Publishing does a lot of great books for prototype stuff. Don't forget to check out Kalmbach and also White River Publications as well, 2 other great sources. So what we have come out with this run is something for a little bit of everybody. They're boxcars, and they are for folks that are modeling now or even the 1990s. So without further ado, These are the 60-foot high cube FMC boxcars. And we're offering them for pre-order until April 30th. And, you know, again, guys of the 90s, I know you've been asking for these. I know I saw Jim earlier. I saw Jim. He's like, Jim, Conrail? Any Conrail? Well, I'm happy to say, Jim, yes, we do have some Conrail. So these are the ready to roll HO scale FMC 60-foot double door smooth side high cube boxcar. It's a mouthful, isn't it? Well, these were extremely common in the 1990s, and even now you still see these on the rails. The first one that we've got here, we've got the Conrail. This is the 1990s paint scheme. Very common. Can still probably be found, albeit heavily weathered, on today's rails. Its reporting marks would have changed, but it's a great model for anybody that's doing 1990s onward. We're offering it in 3 different roads. And we've got the CSX. This is a prime for grime one. This is a little bit more modern. This is 2000 forward. Norfolk Southern, Golden West Service, Cotton Belt, also in the prime for grime. And then, of course, for all of our UP fans out there, Union Pacific. Now, again, these are big cars, and it's kind of hard to see the artwork. So what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and share some pictures with you. These are from our art department over at Athearn. And let you guys see them a little bit closer, and then we can talk about them a little bit more in detail. So let me go ahead and get those pictures up for you. All right, so here we go. Here's Conrail. Again, 1990s. So if you're modeling anywhere 92, 93, somewhere in there, this is the perfect car for you. If you're doing something a little bit later, you know, especially after this road got divided up between CSX and Norfolk Southern, a little bit of work, a little bit of weathering, you've got yourself the perfect freight car for your local on your switching layout, or all the way to your club layout or your home layout. And I know the Conrail guys are excited because we get a lot of requests for Conrail, especially for this era. 1990s is gaining popularity. Now, like we were talking about before, CSX. This is a CSX car. It's based on research that we got from 2006 onward. So a little bit more modern, but it is a prime for grime too. So it's been around for a little bit. You can see it's got the older CSX look to it. Not quite like what you see now with the brackets or some of the slogans that they use. Norfolk Southern, of course, we could probably wonder where its heritage is if you look carefully at the reporting marks. Now, again, this one here, this is 1990s as well. So this would fit in the same era as the Conrail one that we showed earlier. Golden West Service. This is one that we get requests for a lot. And anybody that knows anything about the Golden West Service, pretty interesting. Pretty much 1992 plus is what we've got for date on this car here. This is former SP Cotton Belt Rio Grande freight cars that were sold to various short lines, rebuilt, and then leased back to the railroad. Now, the most common short lines that got these particular freight cars, Galveston Railroad, Ventura County Railroad, and of course, Cole Railroad. Or I'm sorry, yeah, Cole Rail. This one here, of course, is lettered for Ventura. And again, 1992 onward. And a lot of these did last after the UP takeover. Here we got a Cotton Belt. This is also prime for grime, so it's perfect for weathering up. And look at how old it is. You've got some signs of its past. The old FMC logo. You don't really see that anymore because FMC, eventually they became Gunderson. And then, of course, UP. And the UP one, of course, that's 1990s as well. So most of these cars in this run are 1990s. There's a few that are 2000s and up. And depending on how you want to weather them, you can make them anywhere between 1990 to present day. These still see quite a bit of service. I see them out here on service on both the Transcon occasionally between Toluca and Galesburg, and I also see them coming out of Decatur on the former nickel plate, heading eastbound. So they're still around. There's still quite a few of them. In fact, maybe before the end of the month, I'll go through my archives and see if I can find some examples. I know I've got some examples of the Conrail, albeit not as pretty as the examples that we showed here today. So again, you've got till the end of this month, April 30th. It's a Friday. You can always remember it's the last Friday of the month because two things happen. That's when you got to get your orders in, and that's when you have to see what else we're coming out with. Where do these perfect for? Well, they are larger box cars, but you can definitely use these in different industries, whether it be your switching layout or your home layout, even modular. I mean, these are real impressive when you get this whole string of these. And that's why we're offering them in 3 different road numbers each. Okay, so we've covered what? We've covered the 60s, the 70s. We kind of transitioned a little bit with that cotton belt from the 70s all the way into the 80s, into the 90s, and present day. So I know there's some guys out there that are probably more into transition era. And when I say transition era, I'm talking 1940s, 50s, even into the early 60s, but predominantly 40s and 50s because of what? Steam kind of slowly fell out of favor for diesel. And we haven't forgotten you guys. In fact, there's two types of fans out there that we've remembered. We've remembered the guys that still like to operate steam or early first generation diesels. And we've also remembered guys that like to do either their own roads or a road that they don't have available to them right now. So let me bring the next item up for you guys to look at. And again, these are perfect for a railroad from transition era all the way up to the 80s. These are the ready to roll HL 40-foot smooth side ballast hoppers. Now, these are very common. You don't see them as much anymore because a lot of them have been scrapped, but at one time, these were all over the place. And so we're offering on them in the roads that you see here. Wisconsin Central would typically, that is a car for the 1980s. Now, why would Wisconsin Central have a car like this in the 1980s? Well, they still had to do ballast. And remember, short line, a lot of these railroads would get things for bargains. So that's why we've offered the Wisconsin Central. And these are perfect in your maintenance away, your yard, or your ballast trains. They still saw a lot of heavy use in the 1970s and 1980s on that road. Of course, we've got the Alaska Railroad as well. And that one here is actually 1960s. No, sorry, 1960s. Again, same thing. These are becoming less and less common with some of the lower 48 states on the main line, but not all. As we got here, we've got Burlington Northern. And again, the Burlington Northern 1980s. Now, the steam guys at this point, I know you're out there rolling your eyes because I said transition and stuff. But yes, I do have some here for you. In fact, if you look carefully, the Union Pacific and the data only, which we'll talk about in a second, are 1950s onward. And for 1947 specifically, we've got that Southern car. So those are ready to go for your transition guys. Now, the data only cars, and I see some questions out there. The data only cars are painted. They are painted either black or brown. and they have the data on them, but they just need your choice of your road, your logo, whatever. So if you're freelancing, these are perfect. Maybe you model a different road other than Southern or Union Pacific, so you can go ahead and put those on. And remember what I said earlier about the books? Well, that's where they come in handy. You know, maybe you're a SP fan or an MKT fan, and you want to see if they had these type of cars. You go ahead and order these up, and most of the time these cars were painted either like an oxide reddish brown color or black. Very rarely did the railroads paint these in their corporate colors. They were usually a rather oxide color or a black. Now I'm seeing some questions on these. What couplers come with them? These are coming with the McHenry HO scale couplers. These are the knuckle couplers that we offer on our other locomotives and freight cars. I saw some other questions. I think I answered the one. Somebody was asking if these are undecorated or if they are painted. They are painted, and they have the data on them. So like I said, you can just put your logo, whether it be an actual prototype or a freelance. Real easy to do. And that is a lot easier than painting and putting all that little detail, because even in HO, all that data is really small. Now, some of the other things about these cars, really nice. The pictures that we have here, they're really nice. They're more for letting you know what the artwork looks like when you get them. But these do have separately applied grab irons, brake wheel. They're really nice cars. They really do present really well. With a little bit of weathering, they'll be perfect. And they do include loads. The loads can be kept in the car, or they can be removed to however you're working on stuff. So definitely check these out. Again, Friday, April 30th, last day to order these. And for you steam guys, you're probably going to want to go ahead and order these because we've got some surprises for you coming down the road. So again, we were able to we started in 47, we went all the way to present day. We kind of jumped back and forth. As Doctor Who would say, it was kind of a timey-wimey thing. But we've pretty much covered something for everybody out there. And based on what I'm seeing here, a lot of you guys are happy. We want to see how the painted lettered cars do. And if we see that there's a demand for it, we may do more of those in the future. So if you've been wanting undecorated, but want to do something for your own road, this is a great way to do that. And likewise, if you're a newer modeler and you want to do a specific car that's not offered, this is a great way to get into it and learn to do some decaling, a little bit of research, and it's a great way to spend an afternoon working on the layout. All right, I'm just kind of going through here and seeing what kind of questions or comments we have before we go on to the news. Got some great stuff to show you as far as updates on what's going on, and we'll talk about the Prime for Grime contest as well. Kevin, he wants to know if we're going to do a 284 Berkshire Steam. That's one of my favorites, even though my all-time favorite steam locomotive is probably the GS4. But, yeah, I don't know about that one, Kevin. We'll have to see. Let's see what else we are going to do. Got some questions. More Kodachrome. Yeah, there's always a demand for Kodachrome. I don't have any Kodachrome for you today, but don't count it out altogether. Now I see some questions and some comments about the pricing. Keep in mind that's MAP or MSRP. Okay, so what you see on our screen is going to be different than your hobby shop. Hobby shops will sell those at a different price, lower than what we're showing. That's just like a retail price, if you will. It's a guideline price. Different shops will sell for different prices, and it's just like anything. You can order through your favorite online retailer. We've got plenty that carry Athearn products, or your local hobby shop. The joy of going through your local hobby shop is, you get to go down there and pre-order, and you might see something else that could go home with you right now. So I know I enjoy going to my local hobby shop. All right. Well, like I said, I've got some news here. And let's start with the Athearn Prime for Grime contest. Now we're coming to the very end of this contest. You've only got about another week. I've gotten some more submissions of some really great modeling, some really good photography skills. I'm really happy with what we're seeing, but man, I could use some more. I want more. I want to see more. I know there's some guys out there. I know what happened. You went to the hobby shop, or you went to the website, you ordered up this car, and you took a picture of it as it was, and you started thinking and then overthinking, and the next thing you know, the project's just sitting on your workbench. And meanwhile, I'm up here saying, I need your stuff. I need it now. I want to show your talent. Don't worry. Like I said last week, go to James's website. Now it's Hybrid Hobbies YouTube channel, and he shows you how to do it. It's real simple. And the best thing is no matter what, if you submit your pictures of your Prime for Grime contest submission, we're going to put it on Facebook. We're going to put it on Instagram. It gives you bragging rights. So if you're at that point and you've stalled, don't stop now. Keep going. Remember, there's no mistakes. So let me see what we've had sent to us recently. I've got a couple of really good ones that just came in. Here's one from Tim. Tim sent this in. He started with the Golden Triangle Railroad. So that's what it looks like straight out of the box. Now, one of the things I'll tell you about Tim's entry is he actually did what we were talking about. He had a picture of the actual freight car. He actually found this freight car, and it's got some graffiti, and it's got some dust and grime and everything else. So he used that picture. Now, for obvious reasons, I'm not going to use the picture that he had, because it is a picture that somebody else took, and we don't have the rights to it. But he took that picture as a guide. Let's see what he ended up getting that car to look like. Look at that. Totally different. Let me go back a little bit. Here's the before, right out of the box. And there it is now. Does that look more realistic or what? That is really great. This is a great job by Tim, and I'm so glad he sent that in. This is a great example of weathering. You've got the dirt, you've got the dust, you've got the grime, and you've got the graffiti. Now, I know with some guys, graffiti is a sore subject. But if you're modeling the modern era, it is a fact of life. That's just the way it is. It's just as modern as having to deal with ditch lights and PTC farms on top of cabs of locomotives. So again, Tim got this from an actual prototype picture of the actual freight car, and he did a great job. That graffiti is not a decal. That graffiti was all hand done, and he is now in the entry for our contest. Now, whether he wins or some of our previous entrants, somebody's going to win the grand prize, which is a Genesis locomotive and a chance to come on here and talk to me and talk to you and share your expertise on how you did this wonderful job. And I can tell you, if the picture was taken just right, I think a lot of us would have a hard time wondering if that's a real freight car or if it's a model. But really great job. So Tim, thanks for sharing that with us. And Tim, these will be on Facebook and Instagram this week. So get you some bragging rights with the guys at the club. I had another one come in. This is from Connor. Really nice job. And this looks like anything you'd see at any industry or mainline. Connor did a great job on his. Very subtle. I mean, it's not overly done. It has the look of a well-used freight car. It's got some fading to it. It's definitely, if you look carefully, you can see some gouges and scratches and nicks. You know, this one here, it's safe from graffiti. Does it happen? Yeah, it happens. It's getting to be less and less common, but yeah, it's definitely free from graffiti somehow. But he's done a really good job. You can tell this thing has been spotted at multiple different industries throughout its life. And he's done a great job. So Connor, you too, thank you for bringing that those pictures to us. And like I said, we will go ahead and we'll put these on our Facebook and Instagram. You have until the 19th of April to get your contest entries in. And all you need to do is purchase one of the box cars that we've got listed. If you go to athearn.com and select the banner for the Prime for Grime contest, it'll take you to a page that will list the freight cars that are eligible. Now, I will say, I know you guys are busy because we've already sold out here in the DC of some of these box cars. And I've had some emails asking for folks of online retailers that may have these cars available. So I know you guys are working on them, but go to that website and see which ones are eligible. You still got time. Some of you guys can turn one of these out in the night. So I want to see what you guys have, and I want to showcase your talents. And again, the winner will get to come on here with me and talk to all you guys and share your techniques. I'm getting a lot of good comments on Connor's. Yeah, his roof, the top of the car is perfect. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. I'm going to grab some of the, yeah, Terry, you're right. The roof is nicely done. Yes, there is. You can't, maybe if you've got a big screen TV, you can see it. But if you look real carefully under the door, somebody has scribbled, "I made you look." It's pretty neat. It's subtle little things like that he's picked up. And I mean, that is really nicely done. So thank you, Connor, and thank you, Tim, for sending those in. We've got one more week. So get out there, get your weathering pastels, your weathering paints, your dull coat, all of that stuff, and start hammering down. Get it done, send it to me. And I want to show your work to everybody out there. And I also want to see who's going to win that grand prize, a Genesis locomotive, a chance to be on here. And I think we've got some other surprises, but I'm not going to give those surprises away yet. I want to see some more submissions so that we can see what you guys are into. So really, really, really cool stuff here today from some talented modelers. And I know we've got a lot of talented modelers here right now. So if you're working on something, show me a shout out in the comments to let me know that you're working on it so I can expect it, because I really, really want to see what you guys are up to. So, like I said, April 19th, last day. It's going to be here quicker than tax day. So get those into me. Now, typically what we do is we, at this point, show you what's coming into stock real soon into your hobby shops. If you've ordered previously, some pre-orders that we've announced a year ago, some of them are going to be coming in. Now, sometimes we get the advantage of getting these in a little bit sooner just to remind you guys what is on their way, and that's what I'm going to do now. Chris Rippey out west was fortunate enough to work with Janik and get some great pictures, and one of which, I'm just going to tease you for this one. We're going to wait till, these should be in about June, but I'm still going to put it up because it's such a cool picture. Check that out. Baltimore and Ohio. Isn't that nice? I like how somehow he managed to get that Athearn trailer. Maybe that's full of Genesis locomotives in that trailer. Chase, I see your comment out there. Thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing your weathered freight car. But yeah, check those out. Those are really cool. We're talking about June that these will be in. And this is the Baltimore and Ohio one. And some of the younger guys in the audience might not know what's going on here, but Baltimore and Ohio, they ran their Jeeps long hood forward. And that's what we've done here. If you look real carefully, you'll see on the frame, it's got the F lettering to, dictate that the control stand and all the controls are orientated so that it's to the front. That lasted all the way into the chassis system. Some of these got painted up in the chassis paint scheme, and we'll talk about the chassis soon, because we've got some chassis stuff coming down the road that we'll talk about. But yeah, so don't forget these. These are all new, and they're Genesis. And I hope to grab one of these soon. And of course, we'll have some reviews on these here before too long. Anthony, yes, you are absolutely right. I'll throw that up there since you took the time to write it. You are absolutely right. Both the Southern and the Norfolk and Western ran long hood forward as well, all the way up to Norfolk Southern in some cases. Chessie likes what I said when I said that we might have some chassis stuff coming soon. Everybody seems to like the chassis. All right, so another thing that we've been talking about lately too is the Dash 9s. Now, if you remember a couple of weeks ago, Janik gave me a call and said, Jim, you know what? The pre-production samples, they've arrived. These are beautiful. I'm going to shoot you some pictures, and I'm going to get these to you. And we did a quick first look Friday type of thing. And Janik took some great pictures. And we're going to keep enticing you. We're really happy with the way the developers all the way through the factory did these Dash 9s. They're absolutely beautiful. And of course, I'm going to share probably my favorite out of the group. Let me go ahead and put that up here. There it is, the Dash 9. Dash 9 Heritage 1 BNSF. And, we're talking late summer. These are going to be available. Now, we announced these last July. And Heritage 1, really cool. This is going back. This is going back to the days when technically their railroad name was the Burlington Northern and Santa Fe Railroad. And they had the Circle Cross logo that you see here. Wouldn't be until 2005 that they would change that green to a black, and they would change out the logo to what some people call the swoosh logo, and they officially became the BNSF Railway. That wasn't until 2005. We're looking at a locomotive here that's earlier paint scheme, although for the era, it's a little bit later in the era. And I'll explain a little bit more about that later. Rick, we just announced the red and silver Superfleet ones last month. So talk to your dealer. We did the run of the Santa Fe and even the early BNSF in the red and silver. So definitely they have been done. And the good news is since the Dash 9 is Genesis 2.0, and it's the first time we've offered the Dash 9. This is all new tooling. We're going to offer them in more roads as we go on down the road. So if we have not offered your particular locomotive yet, your road that you model, we will probably eventually. The nice thing is the Dash 9 was produced for many, many years. I believe it was 1993 to 2002 they produced the Dash 9 out of Erie, PA. And very common road power. When I go rail fanning and look at the BNSF, I see these all the time. In fact, I just caught a Heritage 1 2 weeks ago on the Transcon. So they're out there, and really, really cool locomotive. Now, somebody was asking, we had posted, I think it was this one on our social media account, and they wanted to see some close-up details. So I went ahead and we had a really nice day out here in Illinois today. So I wanted to get some good detail shots for you guys to take a look at. Here we go. Now, if you look carefully, you can see through these. This is the rear exhaust grills. You can see through there. That's daylight. These are all individual metal etch parts that have been applied per the prototype. You can read all the labels, the warning labels, just like you would on the full-scale locomotive. Look carefully, you can see that pattern. Now, development, the Athearn guys in development, they spent years working on this model because they knew that you guys are going to be wanting this kind of detail. And the Dash 9s, this is probably one of the most as far as like the Genesis 2, this is one modern locomotive that is very, very common. Yes, they do, Rick. I can verify that they do have a lot. We see them a lot in Galesburg. Yep. And the pink bonnets. Yep. I've got a picture of a pink bonnet I'll have to share in a future Train Tuesday. You know the saying, if they're running well, there's no sense in repainting them. It means they're busy earning their revenue on the main line. The pretty ones usually go back to the shop for other reasons, and then they happen to paint them. Here's another detail shot. Here's the builder's plate. Now, little backstory on this picture. Up until recently, hopefully it comes back this year, I don't know. We were talking about Galesburg earlier. Galesburg has the town of Galesburg. It's originally a CB&Q, and the Santa Fe went through it. But it's originally a CB&Q yard, railroad town. And starting around 1974, they started something called Galesburg Railroad Days. And it was where the railroad would basically open up and show everybody the inner workings of the railroad. Well, by the time I came along in the 90s, it was BNSF, and they would park a locomotive down by the depot where is downtown, and they would have a display. And quite often you would see a Dash 9 like this one on display, especially in the late 90s, because this was a new paint scheme in the late 90s. And walking up to the locomotive, depending on your height, that builder's plate is front and center, eye level. And seeing the amount of detail on the side of the cab like that just brought back a whole flood of memories of late 90s, early 2000s Galesburg Railroad Days, and seeing a Dash 9 on display downtown and seeing that. And it's just remarkable at how well the printing is on these Dash 9s. So I hope you pre-ordered one because I don't think they're going to last very long. A lot of folks did pre-order these. They were an extremely popular pre-order last summer. So there's not going to be a lot of spares to grab. And like I said, Genesis 2.0. So we know what Genesis 2.0 means. Not only do you have your headlights and your ditch lights, but you have your number boards, you have ground running lights, superior detail. And again, remember I said earlier that this is a Heritage 1, but it's a later, as it is later in life. Okay, this is about mid-2000s. And if you look carefully, look at the walkways and the steps. They're pink. Why'd we do that? Well, because that's the way they weathered. They actually did fade out to a pink color. And as I say to my friends, pictures didn't happen. There's plenty of pictures out there of these Heritage 1s with reddish, light red, or pink walkways. So 1011 was one of those that had that, and that's what we decided to do. So if you're doing mid-2000s and you need some Class 1 power, definitely talk to your dealer sooner than later, because like I said, we had a huge rush of people pre-ordering these last summer. These are due out in probably about late summer, early fall. So not too much longer for you to wait, really, if you think about it. All right, so I don't know if we have any N-scale guys in the room. Let's see. Any N-scale guys out there today? I'm looking. I mean, I know we've got some great HO scale eye candy on here, but I know there's something that the N-scale guys have been looking for and wanting. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, I think I've got it. Hold on. Let me, N-scale guys, let me grab you real quick. Yeah, here we go. Matt, N-scale. All right, Matt. I don't know if you do Steam or not, but I've got something. And if you pre-ordered these last year, we are getting close. The big boys, N-scale big boys. They are coming here soon. So if you pre-ordered these last year, your dealer will be giving you a call and letting you know that they are on their way. I would think probably another couple of weeks. Now, I've had a lot of requests and a lot of people ask about these. They want to see some video of these, and that's not a problem. As we talk, there's things going on behind me. The things are getting built, and we'll actually run one of these on Train Tuesday coming up real soon. I'm also going to have some great reviews of this locomotive, and we'll talk about those in the future as well. So, yeah, like I said, N-scale guys who want steam, yeah. Yes, it does. It's amazing what the plastic injection molding process can do nowadays. Now that locomotive that's right there, that's our Horizon staff photographer, Rory, took that picture for us. And that's straight out of the box. Nothing done, no weathering, nothing. That's just straight out of the box. It's put on one of my N-scale modules and taken outside for good light. And yeah, it does. It looks just like brass. These things look and sound amazing. And I'm probably going to end up getting one because, I mean, who doesn't like a big boy? It's just an engineering marvel. So, yeah, like I told you, I had a busy day today. We had a lot of stuff to cover. I got one more thing I want to share with you, and then we're going to do some virtual rail fanning. So let me show you what's come up. Now, I'm sure you guys are familiar with DJ Trains. Dominic over at DJ Trains, he is a, actually, he's a full-scale engineer for CSX. And I sent him some tank cars. And he did a tank car review on those. And let me see if I can get that going for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and share his video real quick. There we go. Now, the thing that I like about Dominic's videos is that I'm going to try to get that screen a little bit bigger so you can see what's going on there. I apologize. Sometimes we have a slight lag. So in the beginning of his video, he's talking about tank cars in general. And of course, he's going to know because, again, he works for CSX. He's reviewing these N-scale tank cars that are in stock at your dealer right now, as well as through horizonhobby.com and athearn.com. But the nice thing about Dominic's videos is he has gone through and told you what these cars are for, what they do, where they're spotted, what kind of industries they do. And of course, he's got drone footage of a lot of these industries, and it really gives you a great idea to really make your industries on point. You want to make sure that your industries are getting served the right cars. And, you know, as he says in this video, tank cars are great because they can, you know, haul a lot of different commodities. So again, this is DJ Trains, and check out his YouTube channel. Now, to help you guys remember, on Facebook tonight, probably about 6 o'clock, we're going to share this video again so you guys can remember. And it's a short video. It's probably about 20 minutes long, but it's got a lot of great information, not only on these Athearn freight cars that he's talking about, but how to use them. How they're used in the full-scale industry. So, again, that's DJ Train. And he's got some other great videos too, so check out his channel, and he's going to have some other surprises for us in the near future. So be sure to check him out. All right, so I had a request today, and Delta 9, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a very interesting video because it does help you, even if you're into HO. He does a lot of N-scale stuff, but even if you're into HO, his prototype information is super valuable. And he does a great job of explaining the hows and whys of what the industry does. So let's see. I had some requests. I said, Jim, can you make sure that we have trains running? Okay. Be careful what you wish for. Let's go to California. And let's go ahead and get that screen a little bigger, because look, we've got a train. There we go. So, like they said on an old TV show from the 50s, you asked for it, and we got it for you. All right, so let's see what we've got for questions today. We've got some time to talk about what's on your mind, what kind of questions you have, and comments, questions, all that good stuff. So let's see what's going on. Yeah, I tried, Kevin. And we hadn't really, I think last week we tried to do a West Coast and we didn't have good success. And this time we had good success. So that was awesome. Let's see what we have. You blinked and missed the chassis portion of this. Yeah, we didn't really show any chassis stuff, but that's coming down the road. Don't worry. Stay tuned. All right. Zach, here's his weekly plug for Harvest Gold Main Central. I know, you want one. I wouldn't mind one either. In my opinion, this is just my opinion, so take it for what it's worth. The Harvest Gold paint scheme of the Main Central is probably, at least in New England, probably one of the best paint schemes. That's just my humble opinion. But yeah, in a time where a lot of the railroads are kind of looking drab and neglected, the Main Central pulled through with some great power, with some great paint schemes. Oh, okay, Chris. Chris is asking about the Great Northern Big Sky Blue F units that we announced last year. We're probably going to be seeing those sometime around summer. My suggestion to you, Chris, is to keep an eye on our social media and keep an eye on Train Tuesday. Because what we're trying to do now is we're trying to give you guys a heads up. Whenever something is coming into stock at your dealers, for the guys that pre-ordered, your job's done. All you got to do is go to your dealer, pick up your locomotive and pay for it, and go back home and operate it. For the guys that maybe missed out on the pre-orders, you can sometimes, not always, sometimes you can pick up one of those locomotives. So what we like to do is kind of give you a month in advance notice that, hey, these are coming into stock. Your dealer may be able to get one of these for you. But if you really want a guaranteed locomotive on your layout, your best thing to do is to pre-order. And everything that we show on Train Tuesday, it has a date. And it's usually the end of the month. And if you've seen anything here today that you really like, or in previous Train Tuesdays, be sure to tell your dealer and order them, because we have sold out of locomotives and freight cars before. Let's see who else has got some questions. Waiting on the California cars. I was wondering, I don't think we didn't have a reminder last week, so there it is. Are there plans for new road names in the wide vision ICC caboose? There's always going to be, yeah. Once we've got the ICC cabooses, we'll definitely be doing more in the future. If you've got roads that you'd like to see, by all means, go to our website, go to the Contact Us page, and there's a product suggestion email. Put that in there so we know which road you would like to see. And if we get enough requests for your road, we will definitely do them. Let's see. I saw a good question that I wanted to answer. It's coming in from Facebook. He's asking, with all the hobby shops closing, what is the market going forward? Is Horizon going to be using eBay for sales? Not really, no. Fortunately, we still have your brick and mortar hobby shops, but we also have a large amount of online retailers. So quite often you'll see me maybe on Train World talking with Ken Jr. about one of our releases. That's a great resource. Midwest Models out of Kansas City. They're another big online retailer, but the cool thing is a lot of these online retail shops that we talk about here on Train Tuesday, they also have really great showrooms. So definitely check that out. And yeah, it's true. You might not see the neighborhood hobby shop like you did 30, 40 years ago, but there still are plenty of shops out there. And if they're not carrying Athearn products, have them talk to their dealer and see if they can. Horizon's a great company that has a lot of different lines, and Athearn's just part of that family. So if they carry some RC stuff and they don't carry as many train things, and you're enthusiastic about the hobby as I am, talk to your dealer and say, hey, can you start carrying Athearn products? And you'd be surprised. They'll start carrying them. Also, too, with the online retailers, check it out. It does make things a little bit easier, especially with the pandemic that we've gone through, to order online. It's a lot safer. So consider that. You can also go to your club members and ask them, hey, where do you typically buy your stuff? And I jokingly say that my local hobby shop is my not so local hobby shop. It's almost an hour away, but it's so worth going there and talking to fellow modelers, getting ideas, and seeing what everybody's working on. It's a great time. Kevin says, yes, Lombard or Spring Creek. There's two more dealers. And again, they not only do they have an online presence, they have a great showroom. They have a lot of things that maybe you missed out on a certain release. They might have it. Now, while I'm thinking of Spring Creek, don't forget this July, Athearn's going to be at the Spring Creek open house. It's going to be a great show. It's a weekend show. It's the end of July, 24th and 25th. And there's going to be everything from, I believe, Fremo N set up to different layouts. And of course, their shop is open. And they do a great job of promoting the hobby. They go to a lot of train shows throughout the year. Obviously, that kind of came to a stop for the last year. So we definitely want to support them and their endeavors. So if you get a chance to go out there, that's in Deschler, Nebraska. If you get a chance to go out there that weekend, definitely go. It's a great show. And I'd like to see you out there. So definitely stop by. Let's see. A lot of great, as I can't catch them all, but if you're watching this video later and maybe you don't have a hobby shop, look at the comments over here on the side. There's a lot of folks talking about their hobby shops. And the good thing is nowadays, instead of the yellow pages, we've got the internet. We can search things real quickly and find these shops. Andrew, that's a good question. You guys do a BNSF-9 series in the 90s style. The good thing is now that the -9 has been, designed, built, and is in production, we can do a lot. And our biggest problem that we're probably going to have is limiting what we're going to do per release. As you know, the Dash 9 is a phenomenal locomotive, and they've been in production for years. And 2002, that wasn't that long ago. So a lot of them are still on the road keeping their keep. So definitely, you'll probably see that and then some in the future. Let's see. Jim, the FP45s and Kodachrome soon. So we announced those, I think, in either November or December. So you'll see those in the fall of 2021, early winter. So you got a little bit yet. Let's see. Got some comments about the Spring Creek show and their shop. Matt. Yeah, that is a Sean. That is cool. Oh, I already got you. I'm trying to get Matt. There we go. Any new N-scale locomotives? Right now, the new N-scale locomotive will be that big boy, which should be out in a couple of weeks. Trying to think. That's probably the big release in N-scale right now. But again, just keep watching our Train Tuesday and watching social media, and we'll definitely, anytime there's something new, we will announce it there as well as Train Tuesday. So. Let's see. Jim, will there be a CPAC 44C WM for your fleet? Well, I mean, for my particular fleet personally, I don't know. Is Athearn developing one? There's a possibility. I don't know anything more than that. I do know that last week you guys met John. He's our new Athearn developer, and I know he's busy, just like the other guys that you've met, Jack and Janik. They're busy, real busy. So I don't know. It's probably a possibility, but I don't know anything more than that. Let's see. I got a lot of comments for 90s. 90s stuff is getting really popular in the last few years. To some of us, that's considered modern day, but I saw some comments on the trucks, on the SD60Ms, the Triclops. Take a look at your rear truck. One thing to make sure that the bearing cap isn't on there too tight. Sometimes if they're on too tight, the tolerances are really close. It will make that rear trailing truck derail on some curves. So check that out. One fix too that I've heard is some of the guys will put the locomotive on a nice flat surface and just make sure that all the wheels are on a nice flat surface. You can loosen that truck up very carefully and then set it. Really though, the biggest, most common thing I've heard is the bearing cap. And believe it or not, if it's too tight, it can cause some problems, especially for the trailing truck. If that doesn't work, please contact our Athearn service so we can help you out. Any of those guys that did have missing bearing caps, we do have bearing caps in stock. So we just ask you to go through our customer service and work with them. And these parts are here in Central Illinois at our service center. So we're getting those sent out quickly. Another update too, we are still moving the service center from California to Illinois. That for older locomotives and older freight cars, process is going to take a little bit longer. Be patient with us. There's a lot of stuff that we got to go through and inventory, and and set up. But once we're up and running, we'll be more than happy to help you guys out. Let's see. I see some good questions and comments. Gordon, I'm going to put you up there. Gordon's looking for some Montana rail link. Okay. Well, these are great suggestions, especially like the prime for grime covered hoppers. That would be great. Caboose, that would be great as well. You remember we did the CB&Q and, of course, Burlington Northern cabooses. And since you're a Montana rail link modeler, you probably know where your cabooses came from. So it wouldn't be a stretch if we get some guys like Gordon that want to see some Montana rail link cabooses. By all means, go to our email and put that suggestion in. Okay. Trying to see what other questions you guys might have. There were some that I might have missed, so I'm going to scroll up a little bit. Now, while I'm looking too, this line was like super busy an hour ago. It seems to be the Train Tuesday curse. Okay, SoCal, that's a good question for you. Is there a full list of upcoming releases on the site anywhere? Yes, there is. And since you asked, I'm going to help you out. Let me share my screen and we'll do this together. So I'm going to remove this real quick. There's nothing coming. There's nothing coming as far as trains. I guarantee you guys, as soon as I show our guest here how to find this, a train will come, and I'll try to get back up as soon as possible. Let's see if I'm right. I'm going to go ahead and remove this. And okay, so you want to know where to find the new releases and what we've talked about today and maybe even earlier. It's real simple. So what you're going to want to do is go into your browser and go to athearn.com. Just type in athearn.com. And here you go. Here's the home page. Now, if you're interested in something that we've talked about this past month, you can see April announcements. Pre-orders are due April 30th, 2021. And you can select this banner, and it will take you to everything that we've talked about today and in the previous Train Tuesdays for the month of April. Now, if you want to see something that was earlier, go to this What's New, go down to New Arrivals and Announcements, and select that. So here you go. Here's the newest on top. And the further you go, you'll see older announcements. So let's just kind of scroll for a little bit. Let's go back a few months. And here is what we talked about for the January pre-orders, the SD70M-2s. So you can see, and maybe you've pre-ordered these and you want to know when they're going to be in stock. Let's go further down. Let's go to okay, here we go. Here's the -9s that we were just showing you guys. You can see the PDF that you see on the show. You can print it out if you like, but you can also view the actual road names. This will take you there. It tells you it was announced in February of 2021. These are the newest ones that we talked about last month. And if you look, right now the ETA is not as solid because it's so far out. Typically, it's about a year out. Sometimes they come sooner. Let's go back a little further. And let's take a look at these GP15-1s. So maybe you saw the show Train Tuesday last summer, and the guys talked about the GP15-1, and you pre-ordered one with your dealer, and you want to know when they're going to be here. Well, right now they're on track for being here late August. So that's about right. That's when we actually talked about them last year. So that's where you can find all of the announcements, and that's good for about a year. After a year, they get archived. But if you want to see what you pre-ordered the previous year, that's a great place to go. Not a lot of modern stuff, Rick. I mean, depending on what you consider modern. I mean, to me, 1990s is modern, but relative term. So definitely go back and see if anything from the 1947 to 1990 is of interest to you. All right, let's go back to our rail fanning. We'll do a few more questions, and then we'll call this episode good. We'll pull the pin. Nothing. I think it's the Train Tuesday curse, guys. Nick, that's a good question you got here. He says, hey, Jim, any clues or intel on what Athearn might do with all the Amtrak 50th anniversary liveries for the P-42 Genesis as a kickoff celebration starting May 1st? And he's sipping his coffee anxiously. I like how he adds that little bit there. Yeah, I mean, so here's what I've heard. You know, don't tell anybody this, but this is what I've heard. And so that's something to look forward to. Let's see. Any other questions? SD40-2 B units in Santa Fe or BNSF. That would be interesting. I don't know. Yeah, Santa Fe didn't have any of those. BN did. I don't know. I mean, we'd have to again get that. I would be interested in for my own selfish reasons, because if you're a BN or a BNSF modeler, especially if you've got some type of yard service, you would see those. If you're doing BN in the 80s, you definitely see those. Yeah, you can definitely kit bash one. And, you know, if you did one of those, I mean, I've seen them in Heritage 1. I've seen them in Cascade Green. I don't know. Could be interesting. We'll have to see. Put that in your product suggestion. I'd be all for it. Andrew, he's requesting AC 6090 style UP. I think it's fair to say that there's some interest there, especially 90 stuff, especially UP 90s. We do see a lot of interest in that. Thomas, his request is a chop nose GP79 Western Maryland. Oh yeah, totally cool too, because the Western Maryland had a chop nose. Slightly, it didn't look like a Paducah. You know, Paducah was slightly different. They kept their number boards on the Western Maryland ones. They literally, when they chopped it, they kept the number boards and everything. It was a unique. If you've not seen one, just go do an internet search for Western Maryland chop nose Jeeps. And I've seen guys at prototype meets kit bash them, both HO and N scale. They're pretty cool. So just chop nose in general. If you're looking for chop nose Jeep 7, Jeep 9s, Paducahs, anything like that, put that in the product suggestion email. You know, I'm sure the guys in development right now are trying to tell me to shut up because we're going to keep them busy. But, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, that's the fun part is like the Dash 9. lot of work went into it, and now it's fun to see you guys get excited about them, and it's going to be really cool to see these on layouts and at shows again, now that we're slowly starting to open up. Kevin, I see your comment on the Norfolk and Western and the hamburger scheme. That particular device that you're asking for, I don't think so right away, but if you like the hamburger scheme, stick around. For some reason, I've actually started to build a small collection of HO scale Norfolk and Western. I don't know why, but I have. And don't forget, we got those Norfolk and Western former Wabash F units in the Genesis line. If you're modeling 60s and 70s, you definitely need to get a hold of some of those. Tom, I'm going to put you up here. How are those Rock Island blue Jeeps coming along? Man, there's some more stuff. Shout out there, guys. How many like the Rock Island blue and white? I personally do. I know a lot of guys, especially hardcore Rock Island fans, did not, because they kind of signaled the beginning of the end. And I mean, the fire engine red and yellow, those were cool too. I kind of like the maroon scheme, but yeah, blue and whites are popular right now. All right, I've got time for one or two more questions. We'll wrap this up. And I guess the trains went away. Somebody had anti-train repellent on them. Not sure who to blame. Yes, remember the Rock. Definitely. Don't forget, too, the Rock is back. The Rock is back, and this time I know one of their locomotives is a GP15. Somebody else had a really good comment or question up here. I got to find it. Well, we were talking about SD40-2Bs earlier, and Neil brings up a good point. He said Model Railroader did an article on modeling the BN SD40-2Bs as a Canon high nose and some styrene might be a possible to model one. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's one of those fun things of the hobby we still like to enjoy occasionally, is doing a kit bash or doing a specific model. So definitely check that out. Okay. Yes, Sean, it does seem to be the Rock Island curse. We do pretty good in Kansas City, but Daniel, he says, any chance to see ready to run Jeeps with DCC sound one day? I'm sure there's a possibility. Genesis does get a fair amount of the time, but yeah, definitely is a possibility. Put it in the product suggestion comment email, and definitely. Okay, and then one last one from Ian. He wants to know, has Athearn ever made main central GP38s? To my knowledge, no, because we have GP38-2s. Main Central got their GP38s in, I don't have the book in front of me, but I want to say 66. Main Central guys will confirm or deny, but I'm using that on my memory. We have not done a straight 38 or a straight 40, but who knows what's going down the line. Like I said, our Athearn developers are busy as ever. So, and I don't know what's going on back there. They know if I find out, I'm just going to blab about it here on Train Tuesday. So probably a long time ago in the blue box days, but to my knowledge, I don't remember them doing them in the Genesis line. All right, well, guys, that is going to conclude for today's Train Tuesday. I want to thank you guys for coming on board and watching the rails here. We had maybe one train, maybe two. Give me some ideas for next week where to rail fan. We'll probably go somewhere on the East Coast. We did West Coast today, so we'll go ahead and try something on the East Coast. Maybe we'll go to Horseshoe Curve. Who knows? But don't forget that deadline for the Prime for Grime weathering contest. It's coming to a close. It's ending soon. You've got until the 19th, so get those in. Again, go to our website, to the homepage, select the Prime for Grime banner, and all the details as well as the email is there. You've got just a few more days, so get those in. I want to see what you guys are working on. And until next time, I want everybody out there to be happy, be healthy, stay safe, and above all, high greens, everybody. Have a great day.